didn't go so well, but hey, that's March Madness for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the reminder, everybody in chat. I that's just another OBS thing, but it's coming in through the podcast fine. So folks who are listening on the podcast directly probably heard the beginning of that. But yeah, we're back, and yeah, John, it is really great to see UConn back on top. I mean, they just crushed St. Mary's. It was really wild stuff. Speaking of wild, I mean, that entire weekend was wild. So we'll get into more of it as we get John, Tom, and Andy will be joining us at in about 15 to 20 minutes. So we'll bring them in once they're ready. But yeah, I mean, like, if it could have happened, it did happen. We had a 2 seed and a 1 seed go down in the same weekend. Just kind of bananas if you think about it. We had the defending champion go down, Kansas, which was in the next round. But the biggest story is Fairleigh Dickinson upsetting the number 1 seeded Purdue. Now, the two of us a week ago, we thought Purdue was sus. We really didn't think they were going to last very long anyway. But going down to the first round is wild. And the same scenario for Arizona. Like, we thought, we didn't really trust them. But them losing that early to Princeton was crazy. So let me just give it to you first to just get your initial thoughts on the weekend. I mean, first of all, just so many big upsets. I mentioned Kansas. That's a better, that's okay. Like, losing to another good team, that's not a big deal. But so much I mean, there's just so much to unpack, John. I'll give it to you first to really recap what happened. Like, it was just an incredible weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where we start. Like, I guess you have to start with the 1 seeds going down, and of course, Fairleigh Dickinson. Judging by the point spread, it was the biggest upset in tournament history because they were like 24-point dogs, and the previous biggest upset was like 23, which actually was a 15 seed over a 2. They were saying it was Norfolk State over Missouri, and I remember that one because I think I had Missouri in my Final Four that year. This was like 2014 or 13 or something, and then even UMBC when they beat Virginia, they were only like 20-point dogs. So just going by the point spreads, this was the biggest upset ever in tournament history. If you go by like the Ken Pom height rankings, Fairleigh Dickinson was one of the shortest teams, literally, in America, going up against Zach Edey in Purdue. And yet, the last 8 minutes of the game, he only had one shot. It boggles your mind. Like, what is Matt Painter doing? Like, try to draw up some kind of play to get the ball down low to this guy. Instead, you could just watch their offense. Like, no one wanted to take a shot. They were all like scared, on the perimeter. They couldn't make anything. And Fairleigh Dickinson just had all the mojo, moxie, whatever you want to call it. They were just kept feeding off the energy of the crowd, and they made all the plays down the stretch. Like, it was not a fluke whatsoever. Like, they rebounded with Purdue, which you never thought could happen. And the craziest thing about this is Fairleigh Dickinson shouldn't even be in the tournament.
Right? Yeah.
They lost their conference tournament game, but because of the stupid NCAA rule where teams that are transitioning from D2 to D1, they can't play in the tournament for 5 years or whatever, however long it is, which is just completely ridiculous. This happened with Bellarmine last year, but Merrimack won the NEC regular season. They won the conference tournament, so they should have been playing in the NCAA tournament. But since they're ineligible, the 2 seed Fairleigh Dickinson automatically got it. So talk about making the most out of your opportunity. Just a tremendous job by them, and just another horrific loss for Purdue, who's now lost to a 16 seed, a 15 seed, a 13 seed, I believe, a couple of years ago. They're like running the gamut here of all the high seed losses, and just really unfathomable. And we called it, Dave. We're like, this team is not a 1 seed, but yet I picked the wrong team out of that region. Duke just gets blasted by Tennessee. We can get to that later, but that was a poor pick on my part. I should have stuck to my. I love that Florida Atlantic team, and they ended up beating FDU in the next round, which was still a game. Like, FDU
Yeah.
had a lead in the second half for a little while there before FAU kind of turned it on, but. And then Marquette loses in that region, so it's completely wide open, the 4 teams that are left. But yeah, Purdue losing to FDU was the biggest upset. Kansas losing really wasn't that big of an upset to me. I mean, they were 3-point dogs to
Right.
Arkansas. I'm sorry, 3-point favorites to Arkansas.
Yeah.
So that wasn't like a huge upset. And Musselman's a good tournament coach. I mean, they have NBA players on that roster. Bill Self wasn't there. So it kind of all added up to, potentially being an upset. I didn't think when Kansas got up by 10 to 12 points that they were going to blow the game for sure. But give credit to Arkansas for just to continue to battle, and they pulled out the win. And I mentioned, and then the other 2 seed that lost, Arizona, the first round. We can get Andy's thoughts more on this one, but he was on it with Arizona just being completely fraudulent all year. Like they have games where they just don't even look like they care or don't even show up, and that's exactly what happened in this game. It almost looked like they felt like they could just step on the court and win. And Princeton again, like completely like stayed with them on the boards, played great defense, and just Arizona couldn't get anything going, which is shocking. Princeton hadn't played a power team all year, which makes this even more unbelievable. And they were the more physical, hungry team, and bye Arizona is gone, and Princeton moves on again, even more so into the Sweet 16 after beating Missouri, which honestly was pretty surprising to me. But when you think about it, if you read like the quote experts who dive into the analytics and all these factors and whatnot, Utah State was to be like a perfect matchup for Missouri because Utah State shoots a shitload of threes, and that's all Missouri's defense does. It's just like play their zone or their scheme that gives up open threes. Unfortunately, Utah State didn't hit the threes, and Princeton was just drilling them. And that's how Princeton gets to the next round, and they're going up against Creighton, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, those were like the 3 main or big upsets, I guess you could say, of the weekend. I won't call Marquette losing a huge upset. I mean, again, they're only 3-point favorite over Michigan State, and Michigan State's, we know Tom Izzo in March, but that region completely turned on its head with those 2 upsets. So that was just kind of like, I guess, my initial thoughts on those big upsets there. I don't know if you had anything else to add or any other games you wanted to talk about, but yeah, just a crazy weekend with these teams going down.
It really was, John. And for those of you joining us late, John in Connecticut is our guest for the moment, and we have one more joining us. I think it could be either Tom or Andy, but I don't exactly know yet. Find out in a second. but I want to get to the bad beats, and we're waiting for Andy for that part. There are 2 huge bad beats over the weekend. Oh my goodness! So John, I mean, yeah. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that because they're whoppers.
Are you referring to? I'm gonna guess, Dave. Obviously, last night with TCU and Gonzaga, that one takes the cake. And then
I can't believe that one.
The one on Thursday with San Diego State Charleston was pretty good too.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw that.
I was on that one. Oh, that was not.
The funny thing is, I had San Diego State and TCU, so I was the beneficiary of those.
Yeah,
but everything else not too good. So gotcha. I'm guessing maybe this is karma for getting getting those right. I got a lot of other bets wrong.
I'll tell you what, that Charleston game was frustrating as hell. Man, they go from winning the game to not even covering within like a 2-minute period. That was rough.
Fouling with 0.1 seconds left. That was great, right?
You just can't make it up. You can't make it up.
Why? And then there's another game. I forget what it was. Like the team's clearly trying to foul, and the refs like swallowing his whistle. Like, nope, that shit ain't happening. I'm not blowing the whistle. With this one game, they're calling. He blew the whistle, and it's always interesting. Like on the TCU game, like when the kid drills the shot, like the cheers erupt in the crowd. Like there's like everyone's got the spread.
Actually,
+4. Yeah,
it's incredible. So I think Baby sent us a clip on Discord, on the SFC Discord, of the reaction at Circa when the Circa Sportsbook. It was epic. When Andy gets in here, we'll play that. But let me say hi to some people in chat first, though, before we bring Tom in. So Parcel's falling out. It's great to see you again tonight. I really good to see you. And Stephen Fred, welcome in as well. We're chatting the NCAA tournament. Tina French is with us as well. Thank you for joining us tonight. As we get all the scenarios rolling. Oh, we got company over here. Hello. I'm good.
You want me to throw out your diaper?
Take it out the shit that is some of the teams that played over the weekend.
And as if I haven't lost enough.
Tom, it's so great to see you again tonight. How's it going, my friend?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good.
To see everybody. Good to see you, John.
Yeah, you too, Tom.
There is a lot to talk about. I'll tell you what, Tom, there's a lot to talk about tonight. Between what happened last weekend, what's going to happen this weekend, and the coaching hires. I mean, two big ones in the Big East. I mean, we got so much juice right now in college basketball.
I know. Pitino pretty much just signed a lifetime contract with a six-year deal, and he's not going anywhere at 70 years old. So I guess this is his last job, and it's a good one to have if he does well. There's nothing like winning at St. John's in New York. So, it's very interesting. I liked how Cooley is now with Georgetown. So he's still in the conference, but he's at a bigger program, a program that's kind of in shambles with what Ewing did. It's kind of sad how Ewing is leaving, but I think there's a reason why he was the NBA assistant for as long as he was.
Yeah. He's not
a great coach. And, the only year he did well, it wasn't with his players, so it was very sad to see him leave like that. But very interesting with the hires, and there's still a couple more to come.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, until one God's in the chat, welcome in. I see a lot of bullies right now. He says that's our friend Toro. What's up, Toro?
Oh, there he is. He's probably begging to call in.
We've had Toro on before. We can get Toro on back again, I'm sure. I mean, but just John, if you can unpack that a little bit too, like, Cooley, I think is a great hire by Georgetown. I think he's going to be great. But how would you evaluate him as far as the recruiter and his X's and O's guy? And you can.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about Cooley. Like, he's one of the best coaches against the spread, and basically at home, like, they were unbeatable in Providence. I mean, we always have to say he gets like the absolute most out of his team, because they're not like this most supremely talented team always, but he like gets the most out of them. So I think it's a great hire for Georgetown because he can get even a better caliber of athlete than he could at Providence. And, Pitino, I mean, Tom's right. Like, I mean, the guy's 70 years old. Like, how much longer is he going to coach? So this is it for him. So one more chance, I guess, to make the Final Four with St. John's. Like, I don't know if it can happen, but I guess we'll see. I mean, he's a big name, so he can probably pick up some guys quickly in the transfer portal just to kind of get them on their feet. But it'll probably be, at least I would say 2 to 3 years until they're a real contender. I mean, they got to get by my Huskies first, who are like just dominating now the conference. So Villanova better watch out. That's all I got to say.
Oh, Villanova's in shambles. Don't get me started. I can do 20 minutes.
This new guy ain't Jay Wright. I tell you that.
No,
much
well, the problem is that they have no one coming in next year. They have no one in the top 150 recruits coming in next year. And there's been no major stories on it, but like Villanova chat rooms and forums that I'm on, everybody's panicking. I mean, Kyle Neptune's not even 40 years old, and he was the Villanova assistant for a long time. I think at least 7 years. But if he doesn't get the players, they're not gonna do well, and they're not gonna do well next year. I don't know who's coming back, who's even eligible to come back. That's another thing that's very annoying is with the COVID years, you have no idea. It's like a math. It's like a formula trying to figure out who has eligibility left, who can still come back and who can't, who has more redshirt years. Like Justin Moore for Villanova, I don't even know if this year counted for him or not because he only played a handful of games. So I don't know if he still has another year of eligibility or what. Some of these guys are like 25, 26 years old. It gets ridiculous. I think old baby met you on the Discord page, and he's right. You got guys that are 25, 26 years old still playing college basketball. At what point do people just say enough? I mean,
you're
way
right.
too many years to eligibility.
Yeah, Drake's whole team was like 26, and they still fucking collapsed against Miami with 3 minutes left. That's another game I don't want to mention. That was disgusting, but alas, we move on. Andrew probably have a lot to say about that one.
They were at like 54 points. It felt like for 8 minutes. They were just not. They could not score.
They couldn't score.
I have no idea what was going on.
There's a minute left, and they're just throwing the ball around the perimeter, and they get a shot clock violation with a minute left. Like, use your fucking timeout. Like it's the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah, I was screaming that. He had 2 timeouts. He refused to use them. I had no idea what he was doing. It was awful to see.
Yeah, just disgraceful. And now Miami gets like they dance because Larinaga makes Mike Woodson look like a complete fool, and now Miami's into the Sweet 16. It just
Yeah.
unbelievable. Like that should be Drake's spot if the coach had a half a brain. They should be in the Sweet 16 right now.
I know Andy took Indiana, and he was very, very upset yesterday.
Yeah,
Amongst
I
other
was getting
things.
texts too of all the picks coming through, and I was right there with them on a few of them. I mean, Kentucky, another team, just complete garbage,
Yeah,
garbage.
that was awful. Who was the guard? I don't want to remember his name. He was like 0 for 15 or something.
Yeah, I
And
don't
he
even
just
remember
kept
his name. I don't
shooting.
want to know his name. Yeah, terrible.
Calipari should have taken him out. I know they're not a deep team, but still.
Yeah.
Wild stuff, folks. I do want to say hello to a few other people in the chat. Photic Photon, our good friend Jerry, that's his handle. Not to be confused with Jerry Will, but Jerry with a J. Is a really good photographer, folks. So we put a link in the chat for his channel. Give her a friend a follow. It's really good. It's really good content. And 201 has joined us as well. And some comments in the chat. So Parcell says, "Is Tommy filming a sequel to the Blair Witch Project?"
What? I'm not. I just have my phone. I don't know why I'm doing Zoom, but it is what it is.
That's all right.
It's because I'm wearing red or maroon or whatever.
No worries. No, but I think it's the angle more than anything. But
yeah, I don't know where to keep. Where should I put my phone somewhere and just leave it? I guess
yeah,
we can do
that'd
that.
be fine. Kind of like what Ron does with the phone. Yeah, there you go. That works fine. Okay. And some other comments in chat. So Jerry also mentions, I don't see Alabama making it to the championship. There, I said it. I agree. I think somewhere in the next 2 rounds, I feel like someone's going to beat him. And then Jerry adds, Houston, on the other hand, I feel like they have a bit of an edge to them. So, fellas, if you could comment on either of those, like what's your feeling on either of those 2 teams right now?
What other teams? I didn't hear.
Houston and Bama. I'll give it to John first.
Oh. Go ahead, John.
I mean, Bama, like, if you go by like the Ken Pom stuff, like they're top 10 in offense and defense efficiency. Same with Houston. So that's kind of like how I was modeling my picks. Because if you go past like the last 7 or 8 years, the only kind of outlier team was my Huskies in 2014 that won it all with basically kind of off the map. But the teams that are, best on offense and defense usually stay there to the end. Bama's defense, like, it's very, very underrated. I mean, they just completely shut teams down, and then when they're hitting the 3, very, very tough to beat. Same with Houston. Like the performance they put on in the second half against Auburn. I mean, I thought Auburn had a really good chance to win that game. They were up 10 at halftime, and then Houston outscores them like 50-20 basically in the second half. Like Auburn legit could not get a field goal. They had like 3 or 4 made field goals in the entire half. So when Houston just turns on that other gear defensively, very, very tough to beat. And, especially if Sasser's healthy. Like I think he proved that, he's good over the weekend with his groin injury. So honestly, I had both in the Final Four. I think both are going to get there. I don't know if they're going to win it all, if they're going to meet each other, but I like their odds of getting to the Final Four. I mean, look, Bama's got to beat San Diego State, who's a good team. I mean, they're athletically, and it's kind of the team that gives Bama problems, like a physical team. Like we saw Tennessee do it. We saw Kentucky kind of do it. We saw Oklahoma get physical with them. That was one of the losses they had. But, they're still kind of offensively challenged. San Diego State, that is. So I would see them getting by San Diego State. And then they play Creighton or Princeton, who, Creighton's a good team, but like I think their defense can be had. And Princeton, like, nice story, but I don't think they're going very far. So I think it shapes up well for Bama. And Houston's got a little tougher road because they have to go through Miami, but I think Miami's a little fraudulent, as we just talked about. So I think it comes down to like Texas or Xavier, and I think Houston versus Texas would just be a fantastic game. That could go either way. So of the 2 teams, I think Bama has definitely the easiest path, but I wouldn't be surprised if either of them or none of them got to the Final Four. I think both have a great shot.
I love that. Before we get to Tommy, I do want to also make note a couple of additional comments from a photon, and they say that a colleague of mine is doing Texas photography for the Texas team, which is good. That's a great assignment. Holy cow. That's a great that's a great team to be assigned to. University of Texas Austin, like that's great stuff. And then also Princeton, I don't know. Like I like them, but I really think they are contenders despite the lack of stars. I mean, I think the thing about when it comes to Princeton, it's kind of a don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah, it's definitely not the same kind of star power. Probably not the most athletic team, but I mean, they definitely have they know their spots, and so it seems like a team that's been together a while. I don't know if you all feel that way about Princeton as well, but let's go back to Tom and get your thoughts on all these teams.
Well, to piggyback, I think Princeton has looked awesome, and it's crazy how the Princeton offense has been around for like 100 years, and still no one has any clue how to stop it. They've just been shooting lights out, and I think they have a good shot against Creighton. I think they could beat Creighton. I think Creighton's played well, but I think Princeton, as John said, Creighton doesn't play great defense, and if Princeton's shooting well, I think they can beat them too. UConn, I've been extremely impressed with UConn. In their first game, I was joking saying that they should put Bob Hurley in the first half because they were struggling. But since then, I feel like since I made that comment, they've just been awesome. And Danny Hurley's doing a great job. And it was cool to see Bob Hurley Sr. and the whole family at the game. And he's wearing Bob Hurley Sr. is wearing the hat. And he looks very old. And I just remember him. I'm a high school basketball fanatic for weird reasons, but that's just how I am. And I remember seeing him a lot, and just weird seeing how old he is now. And he's actually in the Naismith Hall of Fame, if you didn't know. But yeah, I'm most impressed with UConn. And if I had to pick a second team, it would be Alabama. Alabama's been lights out, and I think they're going to be very tough to beat. I picked Gonzaga, and now I'm kind of regretting it. I feel like as if Timmy doesn't score at least 30 points, they have no shot. I don't trust anyone else on that team. He has to dominate for them to have a shot in these games. I feel as if they were lucky to win last night, and yeah.
It's interesting in the point. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think staying on Gonzaga, just I feel like the interesting thing about both their games is that they started slowly. Like they started really slow, and it took them a long time to come back and win. And then, as John and I were talking about earlier in the show, like then we had that fiasco with covering the spread, which is just I still can't believe that happened. Like it just seemed like
it was if the guy knew.
I know
he had a bet on it. Clearly,
and he's like,
he was playing for that shot. Like he was like letting the ball roll on the floor. I'm like,
yeah, they were rolling the ball down the court. No one was stopping him. They just picked it up. I mean, why? At that point, Gonzaga's not going to do anything. They got the game won, but someone on the TCU team knew what the number was and like we're playing to get that shot for sure.
I know, you still got to make the shot, but I definitely understand why some people are like, this is fixed. You still got to make the shot, but everything else other than making the shot made it seem like it was totally fixed.
That was just sus as fuck, man. I couldn't. That was just anybody
the game was
who
in Denver, right? Sorry,
that was in Denver. Yeah,
and Colorado has legal betting. Too,
yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And there was definitely a huge roar afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like a lot of it was betting, and then some of it was just like, "Holy crap, you made it!"
Yeah, I wonder if there's like kiosks in the arena. Like they have those all over the place now, like wherever you go. So I mean, who knows? But yeah,
I got to show you this clip, but we're going to do it after. Let me show you the clip in a second. I'm going to do, so for those of you who are watching on Twitch, we'll be back at 90 with, some of you will be back on 90 after this quick melon break. But for the rest of us, so it's just and then did you see the FAU game where the kid was running for a dunk and the over-under is 148.5? He misses the dunk. I was on the under. I would have been so pissed off if he made that dunk.
Oh, is that why? You know what? There was at the time, like I thought the FDU coach was just pissed off because like the game was won and everyone was kind of backing off, and the kid just goes and dunks. But the kid could have a bet on the over now. Now that you're saying that, Dave, he just goes for a random dunk out of nowhere. That makes a lot more sense to me. Then he was just trying to score just for to rub it in. Like he had a bet.
He might have had a bet. I mean, I know that this is what people were warning us about when they were starting to legalize gambling in certain states. They're like, this could be a scenario. But, I mean, it's funny to me, especially since I was on the good side of it. But that is, yeah, you're right. There might be something to that. Tom, do you remember that one too?
Yes, I thought something fishy was going on there too. I'm not one of these conspiracy theories guys, and I don't think there's anything to it, but it just looks weird.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen with like college kids at the end of the game. Like, listen to their coach, don't listen to their coach. Like, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's a crazy spot. It does make you wonder. I mean, certainly you can't prove anything at this point, but that definitely there was something to it. I think seems it's really wild. King Downbreaker's joined us. Welcome in, King. Mods, can we shout out our friend King Downbreaker, our good friend, variety streamer as well? It's nice to see you again, my friend. Welcome in, chatting basketball. A lot of good stuff here. Tom, you'll appreciate this coming from Jerry, a photon. Mostly stamina, like obviously they were great in high school, hence playing college basketball. I think this is speaking of Princeton, but like playing against dudes who play top teams weekly, if that makes sense. And you've been in on the basketball scene in New Jersey too, so as you just mentioned. So you feel like there's something to that as well?
I didn't hear the first part. I'm sorry.
Oh, like mostly stamina, like obviously they were great in high school, hence playing college basketball, but playing against dudes who played top teams weekly, if that makes any sense.
Oh, because Princeton's not playing anyone, but when they play a top program, they have more stamina than the higher program. Is that what he's asking?
I think so. I thought that they were just saying. I thought the comment was more along the lines of like because the kids were growing in high schools where they also feature their top athletes. Like that was the angle, but you could go either way in there.
Yeah, I could see that, but Princeton doesn't really have any top athletes. Is that what he's?
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I guess that's true.
Maybe John would understand better than I am. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. So
okay. Well, Jerry, feel free to clarify.
Princeton's not getting the top players. The advantage they have is that these kids are there for 4 or 5 years, so they know each other really well. So when they play against a program that has one and done players, or players that aren't there for as long, that's when they have the advantage because they know each other very well and they have a very fluid offense and they're a smart team. You notice in those two games, they never turned the ball over. Yeah, and they shot exceedingly well. So that's their big advantage.
No, I hear that. Well, at any rate, let's go ahead and look ahead then. I don't think Andy's joined us yet. So why don't we show the clip of again, this intense moment from the TCU game. This was just bananas upon bananas. Where the hell is the clip? What happened to my clip? I lost my clip all of a sudden. But I had this clip. All right. So I found it. Here we go. So this is the reaction at Circa Sportsbook when that whole 3-pointer went down. So let me maximize this first and I'll play it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so watch this, fellas. Look at this. This is crazy. I mean, you see,
you can tell some people are thrilled and some people are like, "What the hell?"
Exactly.
Yeah, the guy in the white hoodie just lost like $500,000. Yeah, exactly. That was that's crazy. So there you go. I mean, that's what was going on over the weekend.
But you do have people who react like that when they lose $10, which is also very annoying.
True. Very true.
That's true. And Tina, thank you for the shout out to King, by the way. Give our friend King a follow too. But it's just sets up for a really good weekend. And that's the one thing that you were worried about after the first round because he had so many upsets. Was it going to be primarily blowouts? There were blowouts, but not entirely. I think there were some good games too. The TCU game's obviously a great example of a good game. Trying to think.
The ending, the Gonzaga TCU game, I thought was the best game.
Yeah. I thought so too. I was looking forward to it all day. I was like, this is going to be great. And
well, you're lucky you're on the West Coast. I fell asleep, so
Yeah, I honestly, I bet TCU +4, and then I woke up and the first thing you do, of course, when you're a degenerate gambler, is you check your app to see if you have more money in your account. And I saw, oh, I won. All right, they lost by 3. And then I like, then the next thing you do is you go on the social media to see what happened with the game. And I'm seeing like, craziest beat ever. If you had TCU and say your lucky stars. I'm like, what's going on? And then I see the clip of what happened. I'm like, oh wow, nice. Okay, thanks. I'll take it.
Definitely.
I didn't think
like starting that game at like 10:30 at night was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't. That is true. It did start really late, and I don't think that's gonna happen the rest of the tournament. But on a Sunday too, which is just like, I don't know about that's probably not the greatest move there. Put it on. Tom's kids. Tom's kid. Good to see. It's good to see Landon though. How's the little one doing?
He's good. He just took a bath, so he's wound up, and so he's trying to get ready for bed. But most toddlers don't like going to bed, so he's trying to fight it.
That very much tracks. Very much tracks. So let's look at the Sweet 16, everybody. Really some exciting stuff. Andy still hasn't joined us yet, but I'll keep the line open for our friend Andy. But yeah, I mean, coming up, we have just some epic matchups. Like, it's really great. In fact, I'm trying to figure out what the worst matchup of this is not. There really isn't necessarily a terrible one. I feel like Florida Atlantic Tennessee was the closest thing to bad matchup, but even that's not necessarily bad. It just might be ugly, which might also be true of Bama against San Diego State. But if we start with the Thursday games. We'll just start with that. Try to break this down a little bit. So Thursday, you're looking at Michigan State, Kansas State, Arkansas, and UConn. Really, really good stuff all the way around. I mean, like, this is really going to be an awesome series. And John, you called it. Like, you said that Vegas was the place to be for this round. It definitely is. Like, you talk about 2 games. Oh, we need to go back a peg. I mean, you talk about 2 really good games. You got UConn, your beloved UConn Huskies in Sin City against Arkansas. That's going to be a good game. And then Gonzaga, UCLA. That's a game I think people have been anticipating for months. Because you figured like there's a chance they could meet each other at some point. And that's just going to be a great matchup. Like, we'll see where that is. FAU, Tennessee, I mentioned them. Michigan State and K-State, 2 teams that, not necessarily the prettiest teams, but
that's probably the ugliest game.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Yeah, because
I go with the over/under is, but I bet it's a low number.
John, if you have that on you, that we'll take it. They'll take that.
I don't even know what it is, but I'm going to guess it's 132.
All right,
you might guess.
Let's go see
how far off I am.
A lot of these over/unders are low.
Yeah.
Well, every under was hitting, and then of course, like when I start to dive into bet one, Pitt and Xavier score like 1 billion points on Sunday, first game.
That's crazy for a pick. Well, maybe not that crazy because Xavier's in the mix, but it is definitely like that. Just timing is everything situation.
I was off a little bit, 137. So by my number,
wow,
there's some value there on the under.
Nicely done, John. That's a great guess. So we'll look at the totals for the rest of the games. Like, totals for Arkansas, UConn's under 139. I think I'd take the under in that one too. Be it. Tennessee FAU is 131.5. Again, like, do you
under
see?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like a complete 180 from the NBA. I feel like all the NBA total over-unders are like, I don't want to, like 250, and that's it's crazy. And I feel like college basketball is like a complete 180 where you're like begging for players to make shots.
Yeah. And it happens. Like, you talk about a neutral court, you talk about teams that feed off the 3. If you're not making the threes and you're in a different building you're not used to, and you're gonna go on droughts. So you saw so many droughts on Thursday and Friday. Like, it was just natural. So we look at that first day of the of action. It definitely looks very promising. So John, I'll give it to you first for the previews of just the first, we can look ahead at the Friday games, and I'll just let you preview them all in one sitting. So Friday, you're looking at San Diego State, Alabama from Louisville at 6:30 Eastern, and then the second game in the Louisville region is Princeton Creighton, which again I think Jerry pointed it out, Tom pointed it out, and John pointed it out, and I kind of agree. I don't think we sleep on this game. I think there's a chance that Princeton can make things uncomfortable for Creighton. So San Diego State, Bama, that's a rock fight. Man, that's going to be a low number. Yeah, just take the under in that one, too. The other two games from the other T-Mobile Center. There's another T-Mobile Center somewhere else in the world. I'm trying. I think that's trying to remember where the hell that was,
It's
but Kansas City, I think.
yeah,
It is.
Kansas City's
Yeah,
the Midwest.
yeah. So Kansas City has Miami versus Houston. Number 5 Miami, number 1 Houston, and then number 3 Xavier versus number 2 Texas. And so those are your 4 games on Friday. So John, let me give it to you first to break down all of the Sweet 16. A lot of good stuff. But what are you looking most forward to?
Yeah, these games are all, if I'm just looking at it now, like you have your smaller point spread games all on Thursday compared to Friday. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you look at Friday, 7 points, 8 points, 10 points, and then your closest spread on Friday is Xavier in Texas is a 4 point spread. But yeah, Thursday, Vegas is the place to be. I wish I was in Vegas. You could watch Arkansas and UConn, obviously, my Huskies, and then Gonzaga, UCLA. What a doubleheader that is. I mean, can't get much better than that. Gonzaga UCLA is probably one game that might go over because Gonzaga doesn't play any defense, and we know how they can score. They just go up and down the court. And UCLA can get into that kind of game if they want. Although I think the strategy for them in this matchup might be to slow the pace down a little bit and make Gonzaga play to their style of game. And UCLA has the much better defense for sure. Even without Jalen Clark, I think UCLA is probably the favorite, deservedly so, to win this game. And they better because in one of my brackets, I have them winning it all, which I kind of regret a little bit now because like I said, the Huskies look amazing. Would they get their inside out game? Sonogo is just a beast on the inside. Like he just can't be stopped. And they got their guys, shooting from the 3 point line, and they're just so quick and athletic, and they're rolling at the moment. Really, the only thing that's really has stopped them this year is sometimes Hurley just, I don't know, he just doesn't get the rotations right. It just doesn't work out sometimes for games with the coaching. And I obviously they made it this far, so hopefully they can keep it going another 4 games. But very very impressed with the Huskies so far. And Arkansas, like I said, they're a really good team. They have NBA draft picks. They're going to be in the summer once that comes around. And Davis and Smith, they're fantastic players. And like I said, Musselman's a good coach, and it'll be a close game. Like I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be. So that doubleheader is just fantastic. It's a Vegas doubleheader. And then the other games, Michigan State and Kansas State. I don't know what to make of this one, honestly. Like I wasn't high on either team coming into the tournament. I think I had both losing by now in my bracket, so this is not a matchup that I had. Michigan State is a pretty good 3 point shooting team, but they had zero, like had no success with that against Marquette, and yet still won. Kansas State has fantastic guard play with Noel and then Keontae Johnson. So those guys can just go off on any minute and basically carry them. That's kind of what they did at the end of the Kentucky game. So that's a really good matchup. I have to think about that one. I don't know what to make of that. And then FAU Tennessee, like we mentioned, this FAU team has just been great all year. Like they've had 30 wins. Now, granted, they got a little bit of break playing FDU in the second round, but still, like they had a great win over Memphis and they earned their spot here. And Tennessee, like they really showed me something. Like Rick Barnes is his style, and he's going to stick to it no matter what happens. Despite the injury that they had to their point guard, they still played their brand of basketball against Duke, and it really worked. Like it really how physical they were bothered Duke, and Duke just couldn't match it. And they hit some threes, and that's when Tennessee plays defense and hits their threes, they're going to win. So I definitely like the under in that one. I think they're going to have some success, stopping the Florida Atlantic offense for sure. And I don't see Tennessee shooting like that again from 3. I mean, the Duke Tennessee total was 128 and it went under. So 130 here, like I definitely like under. And then the Friday games, I think there's not much drama here I think Alabama and Houston are probably going to win. I mean, the spread is
9.
close. I mean, yeah, 7.5, 6.5. Like that's right on the edge of what you want to do with laying numbers in the tournament because just so much shit can happen at the end of the game. So I don't know about that. Maybe like it's probably the squarest parlay ever, but just like parlay Alabama and Houston money lines. Yep. I mean, it's probably not even money, but like it's probably a good bet. And then Princeton, Creighton, I agree. I think 10 points is too many. I think Princeton can cover that. And this might be an over game. Like, I think both teams are going to score 140. I think that's an over bet for sure. And then Xavier, Texas is really interesting. That Texas is gonna have to give the job, I imagine, to Rodney Terry. I mean, how could you not? After he wins,
Yeah.
Beard leaves, he wins the Big 12 tournament, and now here he is in the Sweet 16 with a decent chance to get the Final Four. And they're a very, very experienced team as well. Xavier, not great on the defensive end. They honestly probably should have lost to Kennesaw State, who really blew that game in the first round, but. So I would pick Texas there to advance if that's where my money's going to be. So definitely the better slate of games on Thursday compared to Friday. But hey, with only 8 games the next couple of days, or Thursday and Friday, so we'll watch and wager on all of them.
I love it. We have Andy joining us in just a second or two, but before we get there, John, Tom, let's get your thoughts on the Sweet 16 as well. I
think John gave a great synopsis of what we need, of what's ahead. But the game I'm most looking forward to is the game I'm going to stay away from, is Gonzaga and UCLA. That's a 2-point spread, and I think John's right. I think the over/under is 145, which I'm looking right now. It's the second highest over/under after Xavier in Texas, which is at 148.5. To piggyback John, I think he said to take Houston and Alabama. If you do that, both of those money line, it's minus 135, which isn't bad. But if I were doing it, I would do UConn and let's see, UConn and Houston money line. That's plus 112. So that's what I would do and plan on doing. So if you do those 2 money lines, you get more than your money back. So that's a nice one. Let's see. Let's play this more. Let's say we do. Oh, you know what I actually like? I don't know if you guys do these, but you ever look at the same game parlays?
Yep.
For the Gonzaga UCLA game, guess what the over under is for points for Timmy?
20.
No, it's not even 18.5. So I would go over that big time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's minus 120, which isn't great, but still over 18.5. I feel like is almost a shoo-in with them because he's going to have to score. And the only thing that might hurt you is if he gets in foul trouble, which is quite possible. I think maybe that's why it's only 18.5. Maybe they think he will get in foul trouble, but I think that's a good over. But yeah, I think John gave a great preview of what we're going to see on Thursday and Friday. And Dave, you're right. Usually when you see a lot of upsets, the Sweet 16 matchups usually aren't great. But I feel as if these matchups we have on Thursday and Friday are very good for the most part.
Yeah.
The only game I can really see, I can't see San Diego State winning. I don't know what how he feels, but I can't see them beating Alabama. And the line being 8 kind of says that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it. I think Bama's going to win. I mean, the spread it could be very much in doubt, but I don't see it myself.
I agree. I mean, San Diego State just can't. I just don't see how they're going to put up that many points. And their defense is obviously very good, but still.
Have they ever had a good offense? I feel as if they've had a terrible.
Yes, one year. Remember, it was 2020, right before COVID. They were going to be a 1 seed in the tournament. They were like 30-2, and they had a really good team that year. Them and Dayton were going to be 1 seeds. And then the world ended.
That's just the ultimate 30 for 30. Like, what could have happened to Dayton? What might have been for Dayton basketball in 2020? Just stinks.
Obi Toppin.
Yep. Well, he had his brother with Kentucky yesterday. It was pretty interesting. I think it was his brother. But let's welcome Andy to the show. Andy, thank you for joining us tonight. How's it going tonight?
I'm still fucking angry, but I think the WBC has no juice. Everyone wants to say the WBC has juice, but fucking baseball nerds tweeting up a storm. I mean, Cuba this, Japan that. Fucking, I can't take it anymore. But no, we're here to talk about basketball, right? So
talk about what you want.
We could also talk about the Valspar.
No,
No, we don't want to talk about that either.
No, we don't want to talk about that either. Some of us had Jordan Spieth tickets 12-1 and 6-1 after round one.
See, ever get that tournament?
That's just gravy. But I will rewind one little golf thought, and I know John probably paying attention, and Mike, if he's listening, he probably knows this too, but Jordan Spieth has won the last two events that have coincided with Easter weekend. Last year at the RBC Heritage in Hilton Head, and the year before Valero in San Antonio. I'm saying San Antonio, just like Mike. But this year it happens to fall over the Masters. So if you are one of those dum-dums that likes to play those types of gimmicks, Jordan Spieth and Easter Sunday, he'd be putting on that green jacket at the same time people are having their Easter.
When's the last time he's won a tournament? I know John and you know this offhand, so I'm asking.
Last year at the RBC Heritage.
Was it?
How about that?
The RBC Heritage that we just talked about.
Yeah, in South Carolina, week after the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
He's been close though.
Yep.
We're talking about Spieth, right? Just to try to keep that all straight. Yeah, because so like he won the first tournament in a long time. And I thought it was the Valspar, it could have been the Valero, and then like what you mentioned was like right after that. So like that was like he actually had two events that wins that year, if I remember correctly. But Andy, it's good to see you again. You can recap as much as you want. We've already recapped pretty much most of it, and we have a preview. We can do a preview of the Sweet 16 as well. And 201 God, aka Toro, says, "I miss you, Andy." In the chat.
Toro. What, you don't want to just talk about Spieth's top tens in the last 6 months? Because we can.
I think we want to talk about Live Golf and Danny Lee winning in Tucson, Arizona, and the great rating it got on the CW this past weekend.
Oh my God! So I will say, like the people that are killing the ratings, like if you look at the ratings for like the Sony Open and the Tournament of Champions, like those don't do much better in January. But I get it, and but I will say it will be delightful if Cam Smith and DJ are in contention over the weekend at Augusta, because it was just for all sort of nonsensical reasons. But
just to hear Dottie Pepper like tiptoe over everything, when they're hitting them like on the 13th hole. And, she'll try to make some kind of good comment about them being on Live Golf. That'll be fun.
It is funny how there are I don't know if you guys heard the Richard Lerner interview with Dog last week, and Billy Andrade with Dog. They are very obviously anti-Live, pro-PGA because of obvious reasons. And Fred Couples is very anti-Live for obvious reasons. But, I think for normal clowns like myself and John and Tom, I don't know if you do, but like if it's like Tucson, I was not watching. I'll admit I'm not watching Tucson because of all the basketball going on, and I had a little bandwidth for the Valspar. But listen, if it's on TV and it's professional golf and I'm still gonna gamble on it. Like there's room for both. Like if I'm watching Live, it's not me being like, oh, Live is working, it's working, I'm right, you're wrong, because I'm not Baby, for example. Like I'm not doing that. It's just me and my degenerate shell watching golf, like and I'm watching the PGA as well. I'm not saying like this tour, it can only be this tour, it can only be that tour. Like the world can have all the tours if they want, as long as it is a product that is sustainable enough to gambling, which it is, then I'm fine with it. Whether it's on CW, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Bet Rivers, I'll find a way to gamble on it, and I know John will too. And then as long as they can be in the majors, Cam Smith is going to be in the British Open for the next 5 years. Like Dustin Johnson's going to be playing at Augusta for eternity. Like those majors will still have the juice regardless of where the Live players stand on the PGA Tour. Now, Ryder Cup's going to be another interesting story, and we'll see what happens with world ranking points down the line. But until then, all this stuff is out of our control. We can try to sound like blowhards if we want. We can sound indifferent if we want, but it's out of our control. We can only, we control our little world, and in our little world, there's wagers, and that's all that matters. But yeah, we kind of went off the beaten path a little bit. You guys probably had a good recap of round 1 and round 2. I am just so, my ass is hurting. My ass is hurting.
Yeah.
Not because of the chicken wings. It is a little bit because of the chicken wings, but my ass is hurting. It is. I am down and out.
Oh, man,
I know you guys probably talked about TCU Gonzaga. That was a huge swing. Also, what was annoying, and I didn't tell John, I told Tommy, though, like, I was trying to live bet TCU plus 7.5 to plus 8.5 all second half, basically, in my stupid, shitty-ass website. Oh, baby can laugh at that website because he's right on this one. Like, the website kept timing out on me and refreshing, and I couldn't get in the TCU live bet, which was so annoying, and it would have nullified, basically, it would have taken the sting from the last second 3 by Baugh. But holy smokes, like, there are people that will always have teams like Gonzaga do that to you, and then there are people that always have TCU and get on the right end of that back door, like Craig Carton, for example. But it'll get to you. It'll get to you at some point. Between that bothered me, Charleston plus 5.5 bothered me. I know John was on the right end with San Diego State. Drake plus 2.5 bothered me because Drake was the right play. Drake had Miami dead to rights up 55-47. The coach's son laid the biggest egg of the weekend trying to Reeves on Kentucky yesterday, but his dad, the coach, was just a totally clueless clown, saving those timeouts. I mean, that game really bothered me Friday night, Miami Drake, because I had Drake in the Sweet 16. They would have been a tough match.
Fucking Mexico.
Oh, Tommy's watching baseball. But no, I'm sure John and Tommy already kind of rehashed the madness of those first 2 rounds. And this clown also had Memphis with the ball up 1, and they couldn't even take that game home. That Memphis FAU game was basically that ended exactly how you would expect a Memphis game to end. I mean, they have all the talent in the world. They just have 2-cent brains, top to bottom. What else kind of bothered me? Auburn kind of had the classic Auburn game. As good as they played in the first half against Houston, they were just as bad in the second half against Houston, getting outscored by 30. That is a Bruce Pearl. That should be in the Bruce Pearl, like, Mount Rushmore of games, that game right there. Because Auburn, a lot of those SEC schools go through these moments in games where it's like they just don't know how to play basketball. It's like they've never played basketball before. And usually you just hope that can be kind of contained for like 4 minutes, and then the next media timeout they remember how to play basketball. But for Auburn, it happens for like 10 minutes. It could happen for an entire half, like it did against Houston. But it happened to Kentucky for a little bit. That game bothered me too, because I had Kentucky minus 2.5 against Kansas State. I thought Kentucky could be a real live team to go deep in the tournament with Oscar Tshiebwe. That guy is just a rebounding machine. I don't know what you guys think he'll do in the NBA. Tommy is more of an NBA guy than me. I don't know if Oscar Tshiebwe can have that rebounding ability in the NBA because he's only 6'9", but I mean, that guy just knows how to get those rebounds. He's fun to watch. He was really fun to watch. So I was really down on Kentucky between Tshiebwe and Toppin and Reeves and the only freshman that played good yesterday for him, Casey, I forget his name, but that team had ability. And Kansas State, that point guard, just hit those 2 threes in crunch time. And obviously they got that the big guy for them, KJ. I mean, yeah, Jerome Tang, Paige Lang, but that game kind of bothered me too. Indiana, I don't know if John already talked about Indiana, Miami, but that game bothered me because we love Larrañaga. We slurp everything Larrañaga has to shoot at us. We love Larrañaga, and we hate Mike Woodson. But all these smart people, and they are smart, but all the smart people, they said Indiana is a team to play against Miami because the one thing Miami does well defensively, which is the press that got Drake all fucked up. But they said Indiana is like the best team at nullifying defensive pressure full court. And the problem with Indiana last night is that they looked like an NBA team in November. There was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of march where, if you lose, you're done. And Mike Woodson just kind of he had like a Cardwell look on the sideline. There's no emotion coming from him. And TJD, I mean, he had the softest 25-point game ever, if that makes sense. I mean, he was 7 for 9 at one point, but he looked like he was just going through the motions. And the guy with the hyphen in his name, he didn't play good. And then the stiff with the beard with the hurt wrist, he disappointed me too. It was just a bad look with Indiana. All those dudes looking like villains from a 1980s movie with the headband. I'm like, guys, this look doesn't work. And Miami just embarrassed them completely. Now, having said all that, like, it's still a great tournament. It's still a great event. For the second year in a row, I've just been the ultimate clown with betting, and I need to reevaluate what I need to do. I'll talk to John offline about this at some point, but maybe just not even bet the first round and just put all your focus on the bracket. And when the bracket goes belly up, then we can start betting like a fucking madman again. But I mean, I got zero work done on Thursday and Friday. Like, I didn't move. I went to the bar a little bit to put some flames out, but it's been a crazy term. The other thing, I don't know if you guys talked about, is how horrendous the 3-point shooting has been.
Yeah.
And if you bet on the under in every game, including the NIT, it's
pretty close.
you would be a rich man. But
yeah.
I mean, some of these guys on Twitter, and they're not like me, like this fucking nameless, faceless loser tweeting from the couch. They're like real people that their jobs are to cover basketball and write about basketball. They insist that some of these rims, Sacramento to be like the number one culprit, was like, they're like, I'm gonna go down with this tape, but like, I swear these rims are like extra tight rim.
Interesting.
The opposite of the Aloha shootout gym.
Yeah.
But like, Dave, these shooting performances were just absolutely horrendous. Unless, except for Xavier, and of course this clown had Pitt. Xavier just went off from 3 yesterday. But I was just,
you're right.
Just a lot of cold shooting. And then in the college tournament, like, for the, you usually you take teams and like, man, if they can just get hot from 3 for a half, you're in good shape. That's what we thought Utah State would do against Missouri. The weirdest thing about Princeton getting to be where they are right now is that for 2 games, like, I know you close your eyes and you just assume Princeton is gonna hit threes and be crafty, and they've already been born. They're born on third base, these future investment bankers, but they actually didn't shoot the 3 well at all against Arizona, and they shot a little better against Missouri, but they that's not why they're in the Sweet 16. It has nothing to do with their 3-point shooting. It has more to do with basically like the pick and roll and the easy basket that they've gotten. But and then Arizona not showing up. But anyway, Dave, it's your show. You wanna?
Well, first of all,
keep going. Keep going.
Props on your call of Arizona, because we talked about how you're calling them to flop in the tournament. They sure did. I mean, losing outright to Princeton in the first round like that was embarrassing. But listen, like, props to Princeton too in a lot of ways. In fact, actually, Princeton seems to be solid for the most part. But you're so right about the under. I mean, I picked like 3 or 4 overs in this tournament. I'm pretty sure I lost like 3 out of 4 of them. But the rest of the way, it was unders. Under. Like, there are some unders which I just thought were outrageous. Like, some were like a 140 something. I'm like, no. And then I think there was one game where they didn't even come close to it. So I'm like, this is not the tournament for this. But I'll tell you this: TCU and Arizona and Gonzaga are definitely the lone exceptions to that. Those guys can score. They look good.
Yeah, so again, Creighton can score.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that Creighton-Princeton game is probably going to be a lot of points in that game. I read an article that, like, it's just a blind system bet like if you're taking unders on neutral court games between like 145 and 155, it hits like 60% of the time,
Yeah.
basically. It doesn't matter the two teams. Neutral court unders with that point total, you just blindly bet the under. And so far it's proven to be a winner for the most part. And I did see what, to Andy's point, I think it was Iowa State was complaining about the rims, and then they go out and shoot like literally one of the worst games in the history of the NCAA tournament. I think it was 22-2 Pitt at one point in that first round game. Like they were just completely just miserable. I can only imagine what would have happened if Mississippi State was playing Iowa State because they can't shoot either. Like it literally might have ended 30-29 that game that happened. So actually, we're kind of glad that Pitt won that playing game.
Yeah.
I was.
So I want to give props to John because I was gonna take Baylor, and then he said he's gonna. Then John's like, I'm taking Creighton, so I switched. I went to Creighton, though I did bet Baylor live at halftime, and that didn't. They didn't cover by a point. They needed to lose by 8. They lost by 9. But I took Creighton based on John's pick, and then when I was just like in my misery last night after the TCU game, I was just stumbling on old tweets and like videos and previews, like why I'm watching previews when the game's already happened. And I bet John already knew this angle ahead of time. So one of the reasons why people liked Creighton, and I know I give Brett a hard time on Twitter, but it's half of it's joking. And in Creighton, a lot of time they are a defensive liability, but I guess what Creighton does well is they make their other teams that they play take a lot of mid-range jump shots, and Baylor is one of the worst mid-range teams in the country. So that's why Creighton was like a big play amongst people that like to gamble. So I don't know if John, if that was part of your reasoning in taking Creighton, but man, it played out exactly how the prognosticators thought it would play out.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't know that angle. There's just a couple of reasons. Like you just kind of look at the the seedings of the teams. Like, all right, Creighton's a 6 seed, Baylor's a 3 seed, yet Creighton's like a 2-point favorite. Like it just kind of that was the first kind of red flag. And then if you look at the efficiency numbers, Baylor was like a kind of a red flag team in that their defensive efficiency numbers were just in the hundreds. And like you can't those teams never advance that far. And with the way that Creighton can shoot, it was just a bad matchup. And plus, Creighton was they really shouldn't be a 6 seed. Like if Kalkbrenner had played like earlier in the year, they probably would have been like maybe a 4 seed. So that kind of stretch that they had kind of knocked them down. It just felt like a good pick to me. So we went with it. So I'm glad that was one of the ones that hit. Yesterday was better than I'd say Friday and Saturday for sure. I don't know what these kids are doing, following 3-point shooters at the end of the game. Fucking Texas had that cover, and they fouled the kid shooting a 3. And then UCLA, like the very next game, like just back off. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was the worst.
That was just so annoying.
I did see that.
And of course, I had taken. I was like, all right, this seems pretty safe. I'm going to do a Missouri Texas money line parlay. All right, that's pretty safe. And of course, fucking Missouri shits the bed like we talked about. And then I was like, well, maybe I should do Texas and UCLA now. But no, that's kind of juicy. So I'm just going to bet them both at the spread. So there's another 3 units down the drain because instead of I could have just parlayed them together. So just I'm with Andy. Sometimes it just snowballs on you as the day goes on. You need to hit a few early or just like kind of maintain your like a 2-2 start or like 3-3 or 3-4 and then like pick it up, because if you start like 1-4 or 1-5 in the hole, like it's a rough day when there's like the whole night session still left ahead of you.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
You guys all have better discipline than me. I have no self-control about this. Luckily the gambling got through me one morsel of a bone. I won $900 on slots Friday night at midnight because I was so angry, and I was I gotta itch something before these games start. And I'm telling you, that $900 doesn't even cover what I ended up paying the bookie this morning. But it's all good. We're already.
Oh my goodness!
Did the bookie say thank you or make a comment or anything?
The bookie just says thanks. Have a nice week. But
he never says rough week.
No, why would he? There's no emotions involved. There's no pleasantries. Maybe around the holidays it's, hey, Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas. Your number, you owe this much. What's the plan? No more PayPal. It's always PayPal. It's always
I know this is rare, but when you actually win, does he pay you on time, the same time every week?
Yeah, well, when you get paid out, it's usually Monday, early afternoon or late morning. And then if you owe him, like,
you better pay up.
I mean, yeah, you pay. What do you got to do?
Freaking Mexico. Mexico's blown this open. Out at home.
So you're like the one that there's actually a second person watching the World Baseball Classic other than Fiddle? I didn't realize that.
Come on, Dave. Dave, you're Mexican. You're Mexican. You're not.
I know. My dad's been watching. My dad's been telling me about it. He's saying that was
5-3 going to the bottom of the.
Hey, listen, it's a true underdog story. Mexico's beating the odds. Like they took out Puerto Rico. I mean,
very weird how Rosarina is playing for Mexico and not Cuba. It's very weird.
There are a few of those. Like, isn't Mookie playing for? I
don't really like it.
It's interesting. It is interesting.
I don't really like it.
The big home run last night, the guy that gave it up was Ronnie Elias. That guy can't even. That guy was on the Mariners. He was on the Red Sox. That guy is an absolute. That guy. That's worse than like. Who's the guy that Dave Gauss, the guy that throws BP to Alonso the home run derby? Like, you might as well have him throwing out there.
If he's a Red Sox reliever, you know he's bad.
Exactly.
He's bad.
Yep. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. You know, ever since Kimbrel came with the Dodgers, it's pretty much tracks. Like, yeah, he was a Red Sox reliever 1.2 because like, he was trash. They had to demote him at some point.
Not we. I don't do the who's we. Who's we? Just like Mike.
Oh, did I do we? Oops, my bad.
No, I did we by accident.
Everybody
I don't do we. The Red Sox signed. They signed Jansen.
Oh no!
You know he's gonna
have fun with that, Andy. Have fun with that.
The Braves. He's on the back nine, obviously.
Yeah.
But
let's say hello to Dark Native, a talk show host. It's great to see you again, Dark. Welcome in. Go follow our friend Dark Native with an 8 in the name. Who says Mexico women's soccer team clobbered the U.S. Awesome. I should mention Dark is from Canada, but
Tommy, where are the Christmas lights?
What happened in that game there, Tom? Like, would you be privy to that one? Is this USWNT? Is that what Dark's referring to?
I think so. I don't know. You have me stumped there.
Yeah. All right. No worries. So let's get back to it. So, Andy, do you have any quick hitters as far as games you're looking forward to from the Sweet 16 round?
Yeah, I want to give props to San Diego State for being the one team out of the Mountain West that covered and advanced. If you followed the Mountain West model, if you faded all of them, you would have gone 3-1 in the first round. Me being the absolute fool who said I'm going to fade every Mountain West team in the tournament, ended up taking Nevada in the play-in game, ended up taking Utah State against Missouri, ended up betting against San Diego State, and ended up betting against Boise. So it could have been better, could have been worse, but I did not stick to my word. So funhouse me. But kudos for San Diego State for finally getting off the schneid. They hadn't won an NCAA tournament game in years, despite all that talent. And just like John mentioned, you guys mentioned, in the COVID year, San Diego State getting a 1 seed, that would have been a wild experience. But kudos to them. Kudos to Rick Barnes for exercising his demons. They bullied the shit out of Duke. I did not see that coming. The media fed us so much Duke is trending, Duke is trending, Duke is trending. Duke is a 2 seed masquerading as a 5 seed. And I bought all that shit.
I did too.
ACC, you should have known.
I should have known.
ACC's been trash all year.
In Tennessee, just punched him in the mouth. Now, a lot of people were down on the SEC too. And the SEC has kind of represented themselves pretty well. They could have represented themselves a little better had Kentucky taken care of business. But whatever. I want to actually give props to the Big East. They are a conference that is never short of storylines, obviously, with the coaching stuff that's happened in the last 24 hours and their play on the basketball court. Now, Shaka Not So versus Tom Izzo, I had to take Tom Izzo over Shaka Not So in that spot. Now, if you're a Marquette fan, you're probably like, this season leaves a bad taste in our mouths because they offensively very, very talented. Like, Shaka's a good coach, but Izzo's better. And yeah, you do worry about Shaka as a favorite. I like taking Shaka as an underdog. And Izzo is just he is a staple of this time of year. He can squeeze blood out of a stone with those teams, and he did. Now I don't know if the ride's going to how much longer the ride's going to continue, but good job out of them. But UConn and Xavier, Sweaty Sean, and Brad Creighton, like they are all dancing in the second round or the second weekend of the tournament, and that's hard to do. I know John, the local Connecticut guy, he probably read all the storylines. You know, Dan Hurley, a lot of pressure on Dan Hurley to win some tournament games. And after that first, the first half against St. Mary's, first half against Iona, and then they made adjustments in the second half, respectively, of both those games. And, still a crazy tournament. All it takes is 1 10-minute stretch and you're gone. But UConn is like back to being preseason / early season UConn, where they were beating Alabama, they were beating Oregon, they were just firing on all cylinders. So he's got them back. So great job out of UConn. That UConn Arkansas game, I have no idea how to handicap that because Arkansas is a little girl with the curl, to borrow a Mike saying. I would argue they win in spite of what Musselman does. Musselman and Bobby Hurley remind me of the same type of coach where they don't run a lot of stuff. They just kind of let the players do whatever they want to do. And you know this because every game they still have like 2 to 3 timeouts left with a minute remaining. It's because they don't call timeouts to call stuff. They just let the players dictate the flow of the game for the most part. And for better or for worse. So that Arkansas-Kansas game was kind of crazy because at multiple times – it seemed like Kansas was going to run away with it. And then Arkansas was just very gritty. Council reminded me of like a smaller Latrell Sprewell. Wasn't hitting any threes, but just hitting a ton of mid-range jumpers. And then one of the freshmen didn't even like get any playing time. Like Arkansas has 2 freshmen that are going to be arguably 2 lottery picks in the NBA. And one of them hardly gotten any playing time against Kansas. So Arkansas has a ton of talent. It doesn't always translate into like pretty games. They play a lot of ugly games. So like that Arkansas Connecticut game, it could either be like 83-80 or it could either be 55-51,
That's a great point. Arkansas has definitely been probably one for me, like since Musselman's been there, one of the most inconsistent offenses I can remember. Like you definitely can see that variance with them. Like it's very interesting to mention that. Stuart Hayek, welcome in. It's nice to see you. Dark Native is with us too. I'm glad to see you in our chat. Feel free to comment on all the games. I did get a couple notes. One from Stuart who says that his favorite games coming up this weekend. This is in text, but Miami versus Houston is like the big one, and then he also mentioned UCLA Gonzaga, which we covered earlier in the show. But I don't think we talked a lot about Miami Houston. Well, number one, what is the total going to be for that? Like, what's the score going to be for that game? Like, it could be a low scoring game too. But Tom, do you want to tackle that a bit? Like, where do you see?
Yeah, hold on, I got it right here.
Okay,
give me a second.
Okay,
maybe John's got the over under. I thought it was 138. Let me see.
If you're looking for the number, yeah. Oh, it's 138.
138.
Okay.
That's a weird number.
Yeah.
Just
I'd
under.
say under again. Any Houston game, your first thing is under because they can shut anybody down.
Well, yeah. Even Sampson, I think, made a comment saying that his team is absolute crap half the time, and he actually apologized for it. I forget the exact line, but he pretty much said that his team plays like garbage for long stretches, and he doesn't understand why. But yeah, I think Houston's gonna win. It's just a matter of if they cover the number. The number's 7. That's a dicey one. It's a little high, but I think if I had to pick, I would pick Houston and just hope that they cover. But that's a high number.
John, let's have you tackle that one. It's an interesting one to talk about because I feel like Houston's got it, but just a matter of how much.
Yeah, I don't know any much more to add. I mean, Larinaga definitely can match wits with
Yeah.
Sampson, so I think that's kind of an even game. And Miami has great guards with Hack, and then I always forget the other guy's name, the other guard they have.
Wong.
Yeah, Isaiah Wong. Thank you. Yeah, those two, they're fantastic. So, and they had their big guy there. I think his name is Orem, who was supposed to be out versus Drake, but he ended up playing. So they kind of have one big presence. I mean, I know the ACC has been garbage all year, but when you have veteran guards, like you can kind of stay in a game. So, like I said, like that's right on the edge of what I want to lay with Houston. If it was like 4, like yeah, sure, I'll do it. But like 6.5, 7 might be a few too many. So we might have to do the square parlay, like Tommy had mentioned before, the square money line parlay. But unfortunately, I can't parlay UConn here.
Yeah, you can't. You
yeah.
can't. Just like I can't bet Princeton.
Yeah, so but the good news is like all the surrounding states now have mobile betting, so I just drive a little bit if I really wanted to and just put a bet that way. But I probably won't do that. So I might just do the Alabama, Houston, and then maybe I'll throw something else in there for a money line scenario, and then just bet the under too, like I said, because I think Houston can shut down Miami's offense, and then we've seen Houston doesn't really score a ton that much themselves. I know I have to look up Miami's defensive numbers. I don't think they're great, but I mean Miami and Drake play to a rock fight, so I imagine Miami and Houston can play to a rock fight. So that's what I'd lean.
Love it. Andy, I'll give you a chance to do some quick hitters on that too. But in addition, it's now time to review to estimate who you think the Final Four will be out of who's left. So, Andy, if you've got predictions on that, we'll take them. So take it away.
Yeah, so with Miami, Houston, like, yeah, as you know, we love Larinaga, we slurp Larinaga, and we love the guard. But what I worry about is I saw this morning, and it's early, it's Monday, right? So it could change, but 70% of the public that have bet on Miami, Houston, 70% is on Miami, and the other like overwhelming scenario with that where the public is just overwhelmingly taking one side is the Princeton game against Creighton. So I might just have to take Houston and Creighton based on that because I don't want to be on the public side in that situation. So with Houston and Miami, Houston reminds me of like Houston does all the things that both San Diego, like if San Diego State's program had a baby with Memphis's program, they would and only had like the good genes from both those schools, then you get Houston. That's just my like analysis of Houston year in and year out, without mentioning players' names. That's Houston, and so with Houston, they like to play at a snail's pace, much like San Diego State, but like Memphis, they have guys with like crazy wingspan and can just eat you alive with an offensive rebound standpoint. So I feel like with Miami, with their guard heavy lineup, eventually the size might hurt Miami. They might get tired in the second half, and you might run into an instance where, much like that Kansas-Miami game in the Elite Eight last year, where Miami was up 6 at halftime, but by the second half, Kansas kind of figured them out, and their talent kind of rose them to the top, and Miami didn't even cover that game. So I think over 40 minutes, Miami might run into some problems with Houston, with Houston's length, with Houston's offensive rebounding tenacity. Think about Houston, and so with that over/under, like I would, if I had to play it, I would take under. But then, what also would worry you if it turns into a ref show, and 5 minutes into the first half or second half, Houston's already in the bonus and they're shooting free throws after free throws after free throw, or if it's a close game down the stretch and whoever's losing is fouling and you get like 19 points in the last 52 seconds because of all the free throws and layups given up. But that's just my quick hitting analysis on that game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we want to talk about Final Four teams, I'm gonna just really surprise everyone here. I think Alabama's gonna get there. I think I still have a Houston Xavier. All right, I'll get a little fancy here. I'm gonna take. I think Xavier at the end of the week, in fucking Kansas City will be the team to leave Kansas City going to Houston. I think Xavier. If Xavier can mimic what they did against Pitt and they can shoot like they did with Sweaty Sean, they might be able to get some magic going. The Vegas bracket is fucking sexy as hell between Arkansas and UConn and Gonzaga and UCLA. It's so sexy I don't really know how to judge this one. But I will put on my Mongo shoes, and I'm gonna apologies in advance for the UConn fans, but I'm gonna strap my boots on the UConn bandwagon right now. And Dan Hurley, imagine if it's Dan Hurley and Mick Cronin exchanging wits 5 days from now. That is gonna be a juicy game. And then in just the absolutely scrambled bracket.
Craptastic.
No Arizona, no Kentucky. God damn it. Do we really have to entertain? At this point, we're really going to entertain Tennessee? If we're going to say I think FAU has as good a chance as all those teams. Don't you guys? So
I love Davis on FAU. He's a great player.
They got some players for sure. They have as good a chance as any of those teams. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if any 4 of those made it.
So let's just get a little funky in FAU. The other thing, I'm not going to pretend I know FAU, but they have they play 9 or 10 guys. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very fast team, it seems.
How about
where do you guys think? I know, Dave, I'm hijacking the program, but if that FAU coach, he's going to be wanted very fast. Where's he going to go?
Well, there's an opening in Providence now, right?
I guess Providence is going for Kim English.
Right.
Who's gonna get the Notre Dame job? Is it the guy from Charleston?
Hell of a question.
See, I don't think Notre Dame's that good job.
Did you see Mike Bray's at South Florida now? Unbelievable. I thought he was retiring.
Hey, what happened to retiring?
Yeah, 2 days later he shows up in Tampa. Yeah.
Something really bad. Yeah, something must have really had to go rotten for that relationship, because obviously he wasn't done with coaching, and
Notre Dame's been trashed for how long now? At least a
5
few years, right?
Yeah,
he's sick of losing.
ACC's not a good. It's not a good matchup for Notre Dame. ACC basketball is kind of weird.
Hey,
he was linked with the Georgetown job, but I never thought he was going to get that.
Wow.
About the guy from FDU, you think he's going to get any looks off of just one game?
I think it's still too early.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I can't believe Mike Bray's got another job. I just what?
I couldn't believe it when I read it today. I thought it was something out of The Onion. What? He's at the USF now? He was just partying with the Notre Dame students. He's partying in Tampa now, I guess.
People might think that the Rick Pitino hired by St. John's is surprising. I don't think it's that big a surprise, especially compared to that. Especially Mike Bray. That's just wild. I do want to thank Moon 8551 for the follow. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Sandbam. Nice to meet you here. So let's continue around that. I do love your savvy Final Four picks. If you're gonna go nuts, go nuts. I love where Andy's head is at with those picks. So, Tom, let's go to you next. Who are you taking?
All right, I'm gonna go Bama.
Okay.
I love the Kansas State point guard, so I'm going with Kansas State in the craptastic bracket. And then I'm gonna stay with Gonzaga, even though I think they're gonna lose, and I'm gonna go Houston. I really don't trust Gonzaga, but I'm gonna stick with it. I don't really like that pick, but gun to my head, if I had to pick, I'd pick UConn in that side. But I'm gonna stick with Gonzaga.
I think you got one more region, or unless I just missed it, the Bama
Did
region.
I pick Houston? I picked Houston,
Okay.
and then Bama,
Oh, you picked Bama. Okay.
and then Kansas State.
Gotcha. And you asked a question about the Kansas State point guard. I actually got our friend coach Andrew Jacobson loves that guy. Norwell is Norwell the kid's name? Like he's great.
Yeah,
he's great. Like, yeah, that's a great.
He just reminds me of Caleb Love, where the guy shoots 38% from like not just three. He's an overall 38% shooter. Look it up. But man, he made some big shots, and I know they were slurping him yesterday because he plays like Kyrie. Kyrie's his favorite player, and he does kind of remind you of Kyrie. But that guy was hanging brain making those big shots. Kentucky wasn't hanging brain making big shots down the stretch.
Nope. Jamie 88888, thank you so much for the 19-month resub. Welcome in. And this breaking news from Jamie, Grizzlies is going to win. I cannot believe that so Jamie and I were both on the Grizzlies giving 2, 3, 4, depending on where you had it, what time you got it. They were down 16 and entering the fourth quarter, and they're leading by 5. Okay, so I could still mush that, but no, that's
it's
over.
Final. It's 4. It's final. Okay. 4.
Let's go. I can't believe that. Now, Ant, were you on this game?
No, because I told her, I even though told you my butt's still sore from the pounding, but I hopped back on. It's gonna lose, so I did the squares of square money line parlays with the Grizzlies,
okay,
the Avalanche in hockey,
okay,
the other big favorite in hockey, but the Kings are down. They were down 22 to the Jazz as 7-point favorites, and they're down 9 now. So they're starting to make a little comeback in the third quarter. But we still need.
Oh man.
Yeah, we have the Avalanche and we got the Oilers.
Okay.
One of those teams will lose.
I feel your pain. I mean, honestly, I'm glad the Grizzlies came back, though. That's good. I mean,
I do have a question, John. Did you bet the CBI today with the Flow Sports?
I did not. I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to take a break from the degenerate activity on that because I couldn't do it. But tomorrow, semifinals and NIT games, we are there. So plays to come tomorrow on those 4 games. Absolutely.
There we go. Unders.
I don't know. It's not neutral sites, though.
Oh, that's right.
No, I'm sorry. The CBI is a neutral site,
okay.
So maybe unders on those. With this NIT at the home arenas, I don't know about that. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to be in on those action tomorrow. And then I think, the CBI is at a neutral site. So then the final will be Wednesday, and there'll be 2 more NIT games on Wednesday. I saw Utah Valley is hosting an NIT game. Like, that's got to be a pick. I think they're playing Cincinnati on Wednesday.
Okay.
Like, when does Utah Valley get a chance to win the NIT? Like you got to hammer that one at home. Like let's go, come on.
That's wild.
That's cool to see. I know Utah Valley. That's exciting. Jamie it's great to see you again. And Jamie mentions my best betting is golf. So Jamie was really rolling with golf. Like Jamie was betting golf day by day. And Jamie was riding Adam Schenk like most of the weekend. Didn't get it done on Sunday, but Adam got it done the other 2 days. Like it was pretty wild stuff. So
hope he had him top 10 at least because he's still
or top 5 would be a nice payout.
Yeah, Jamie says there's more golf this weekend, but I don't think Adam is in it. Probably not, but if you want some advice, we can give it to you. Jamie, let us know. No 2 people know golf better in our panel here than our friends John and Andy. The only other one would be Mike, and Mike was with us last week.
Mike and John.
Mike would be like the guru. Yeah, but
match play this week. That's a degenerate gambling event for sure. Because seriously, like you have 32 matches each day that you could gamble on, basically all of them if you wanted, and then it's just you could bet the group winner, you could bet the final 4. Like it's just. It's almost bad that this tournament is coming up this week. We're going to have to do some betting, and the field is a little weaker this year. So hopefully, some of these group parlays will work out when past they really didn't. So I'm looking forward to this one.
I miss the old format where literally you could be
one and done, right?
One and done, and you'd be flying back to Florida if you're.
Yeah, I remember that. Like it was one of those things where the most exciting days were like, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it just kind of was like, on the weekend when you. One year it was like, oh gosh, it was one of the first years. It was like Kevin Sutherland against, gosh, I forget who it was like the 62nd against the 63rd ranked players in the finals. Just like, all right, like at least Wednesday was exciting. So I guess that's kind of why they changed to the pod format. Although it's still pretty exciting on the weekend. At least you get it's not like a bad TV product until the final, and you just kind of deal with it at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, and now with the group play, you got like, if there's a tie, then the two guys battle it out, sudden death, whatever. That's kind of cool. It's just you got to do a little homework after those first 2 days where it's like you stay away from the matchup where like neither guy has a chance to win.
Exactly.
Like, why are these guys even playing? But
there's a lot to it's true, fair on that too. Jamie actually just started betting in Massachusetts because they just started Jamie says betting just became legal here March 9th. So but Jamie's in Boston and she won $150 on Shank on Saturday. So that's a great job out of Jamie. Like that's really great.
On a matchup bet? That's nice.
Pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Was that a 2-ball or 3-ball, JB? Like, here's the biggest one though. Jamie, like, I think it was like in the middle of the game. The money line for Fairleigh Dickinson was plus 600. Jamie fired on it. Plus 600 win for Jamie for winning outright. That's wild. Like, big stuff. Okay, so Andy, some comments for you from Oh Baby. Andy, the Sony Open on the Golf Channel, not network TV, did 3 times what Liv did this past weekend. And the appeal, Andy addressed that, I thought. And the appeal of Liv is that it starts every tournament. Whereas a crappy Sony Open you reference has nobody there. Liv's becoming a bigger flop by the day. I'm not even sure what that is. Oh Baby says all the love. Sorry about your bets. That's a lot. That's a lot going on there in that comment, Obi.
There's no chance Andy's coming back to Discord now. Thanks, Oh Baby.
I don't care about Discord. I mean, he can be right. Oh Baby's right. That's on my gravestone. I was never right, but. It's okay.
I'm not even sure what that's about, so I will just leave that alone. Jamie says FDU was winning when I bet. So I knew they would keep the lead. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that was. They were winning by like 6, I think, at that point, because they were up by a good amount, and you kind of wonder like where that point was where you thought they actually could pull it off, and I think it was kind of around there, like when they were up a good amount. You're like, it's like 2 things, right? Like John, if you think back to like what Purdue was doing or not doing, really, like they were getting nothing.
They weren't getting Edie the ball. Like the last 8 minutes, he had 1 shot. I said it before. Like Matt Painter, I don't know why does he still have a job today? Like seriously, just embarrassing performance from Purdue.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very much an embarrassing performance from Purdue. So. I think last thing I got to do, John, I didn't get your Final Four predictions, so who would you take from what's left?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my brackets. Obviously, my East pick is gone. I had Duke, so just for fun, I'm going to say FAU because I really don't care about that region, and that'd be fun to see kind of Cinderella in there. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised with any 4 of those teams winning it. So we'll go FAU, Alabama, Houston. And then in my main bracket, I took UCLA, so we're going to stick with that, and I'm not going to jinx my Huskies. So that'll be my Final Four. And obviously, if UConn gets there, we'll be very pleased, but we'll stick with the bracket that I selected.
That's cool. Now, just to recap that, how many of your Final Four are alive at this point?
3. The one I lost was Duke.
That's pretty.
Bought into the bullshit narrative that they were turning the corner, and they were really a 2 seed, and no one wants to play them, and Rick Barnes just ate John Shire's lunch on Saturday, which was,
and how, honestly.
Give the crafty veteran Rick Barnes some credit for once. That was a good performance.
They did their thing. Tennessee's best known for playing physical and tough, they did it. It was a really they played to their MO. It was really impressive. You're right. Like it was a really great job out of them.
Yeah, and then they had that one guy basically hit every fucking three.
Yeah, he couldn't miss. Unbelievable. Like that's Tennessee. They either make all their threes or they miss, and they score 40 points. Remember the Auburn game? It was a disgrace to basketball. It's like 42 to 41. Like that's what
Auburn
happens.
Got screwed with no foul call at the end.
No, that's what happens when Tennessee doesn't make their three. So if that happens, FAU is going to like blow them out of the water if Tennessee can't shoot. But that's why the under I think is a good pick for that game. So we'll see what happens. And I'm probably be on FAU with the points too, just because.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love the call there with the FAU. I mean, I was like not sure about it, but hearing you on that, I mean, that's certainly worth the shot. I mean, I'm not completely committed to it, but I think it makes a lot of sense because, you know, people are going to be high in Tennessee. Like they're going to think, wow, they just pummeled Duke. Like, you know, the optic of that sound looks great on paper. So that's a really good call. A couple of futures bets from Jamie and Modfather, Stuart Hayek. They just picked Gonzaga at plus 1,200 to win the whole thing. I mean, you know, I say why not, but at that point, because really anybody could win at this point.
That's good value.
I think so too. I do. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I told Tommy, yeah, I mean, the point's moot now. I mean, it's like I could kiss my uncle, but I'm not going to kiss my uncle, but you know what I mean. If Kentucky got to the Sweet 16, I would have bet a future on them.
Yeah, that would have made sense. It was really close too, that's what's so interesting about the Kentucky game. But let me just give you my Final Four, and then we'll go ahead and do final thoughts and head on out. So, Final Four. So I had two surviving teams out of the Final Four, so I'm going to stay with those two. So Kansas State is one, and that's coming out of the East. And coming out of the Midwest, I have Houston. They were the other survivor. And what's left over, we will take... Oh, man, I don't know. I don't want to take Bama. So just out of that idea, I guess I'll just take Creighton. Sorry, Brad, but I'm going to take Creighton out of what's left over there. And then from the West...
Otani.
I know. But for the West, I'm going to take UCLA.
Double.
I mean, I feel like Gonzaga, UCLA is going to decide who wins the whole. Well, no, that's not true because UConn's in the mix too, and Arkansas could even do it. I would not be surprised if Arkansas made the Final Four, right? Like they're a very talented team, so they could do it. All four of those teams could make the. Yeah, actually, I shouldn't have said that like that, but I'll pick UCLA for now. I feel like they're very good in close games. They've done a pretty good job most of the year. And as Tom was saying, like the depth is not there for Gonzaga compared to UCLA. UCLA's lost guys. Like they keep getting guys hurt. Like even last weekend, like someone got hurt. So I don't know. I feel like the resilience in that area is really good. So that's about it.
Did you pick Kansas State? Because I missed that.
Yes, I did. I picked Kansas State.
Okay, I was gonna say I was just making sure because you picked them to win in my bracket pool. So I was just better stick with the horse you wrote in on, basically.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I absolutely riding that horse. And they won that much. I was like, woo. But I don't know.
In advance. That's the name of the game.
Absolutely. All right, let's go final thoughts. Let me go to Tom first for the final thoughts.
Otani leadoff double. Mexico winning 5-4. Bottom
Who's
9.
pitching for Mexico? Like the fucking
Gallegos or whatever the hell his name is.
Oh yeah. Mm.
I don't have Fiddle with me to give me stats. I know who he is, but I don't think he's that great.
You couldn't get
he's struggling right now.
No,
We just jumped over Venezuela.
It looks like Mexico's going to gag this.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
man.
I think Japan's going to at least tie it. I mean, they have a leadoff double, guy in second, no outs.
Huh.
5-4.
For Japan, Arabu.
I'm stunned that you're not watching this, Dave.
Or is Dice K pitching for Japan?
I was just too dialed into basketball. I'll have to put it on now. Actually, I'll jump down on that right now. But
show some pride for your country.
No, I mean
Dice K Matsuzaka pitching for Japan.
Listen, I was consistent with that throughout the tournament. I have not been. This is literally be the first WBC game I put on.
There's nothing wrong with going on the wagon.
Yeah, Let's go on the wagon. Let's hitch our wagon. Anyway, Andy, we'll give it to you for final thoughts. Anything else you want to add?
This is March. There's nothing that I don't know how to describe it. You guys probably all feel it too, unless you win brackets every year. But I played my first bracket when I was 13 years old, and it's the same. Like every Wednesday before the tournament, you're like, "Ooh, this is gonna be fun," and then there's just like there's nothing. I mean, yeah, there's things. I mean, like real life problems and like deaths in the family or whatnot or whatever. But like, you know, but like when your first Final Four team gets eliminated, or the team that you have winning it all gets eliminated, like Iowa State a few years ago. I think John had Iowa State too. Like, or one year I had Michigan State winning it all when they lost to George Mason. Like, there's feelings of losing a bet, and that sucks too. But like, when your bracket goes belly up, like it sucks. Now, in the big scheme of things, it's like, who gives a flying fuck? You know how many people around the country don't even play brackets? There's other parts of the world that don't even know what college basketball is. Open your horizons. Be a sponge. Not everything's about sports. Go to a museum. Read a book. No, not here. We play our brackets. So all this to say, like, after the first two rounds, I'm like, ooh, I'm in halfway decent shape for the first time in a while. And then when that Duke game happened, and then when Kansas happened, even though I had Arkansas +4 or whatever, it's like in the matter of 2 hours after like surviving Thursday and Friday's mind-sweeping situations, but Saturday afternoon, when Duke goes belly up and when Kansas goes belly up, it's like, well, now I'm not looking at the brackets anymore. Even though I know John runs a good bracket, and Tommy used to run a good bracket. And Tommy, I noticed you did not get into John's bracket, which is not a good job by you.
I wasn't invited. No, I only did one bracket. I didn't even know. I didn't even think about John's bracket.
John does a bracket every year. John does a bowl mania every year. John does a college pool and an NFL pool. Dave does.
Remember Yachts' bracket?
Yachts had a really good suicide.
That was
it's
fun.
Like a suicide. It was like a hybrid of suicide and against the spread. And if your team covered but didn't win, you inherit the team that they beat, that they lost to but didn't cover. That was a fun spread. It was a lot of work though. That Yacht said it was a lot of work because you had to get fresh lines and all that stuff. But yeah, all this to say, it's still a great time of year. Still a great time of year, despite the crappy bets. But because when this ends, you get the Masters, and then
give me a Masters pick.
Opening day. To be a troll, not even a troll. I mean, someone on the Live Tour finishing in the. If you get 3 guys that are in the top 10 in the Live, because
Japan just won.
All these people that are like, they're gonna be rusty. Cam Smith doesn't know what it's like to win anymore. Oh, Dustin Johnson, like he can't just show up at Augusta and win. Like, what do you think Dustin Johnson's done for his entire career? He just shows up. Sometimes he wins. He's not like a prep guy. Like, he's not hitting 1,000 golf balls a day like Spieth or something like that. So if a Live guy wins, it'll be fun just to troll all that. But it's hard to go against Scotty Scheffler or even Spieth, and I'll probably be a fucking clown and maybe sprinkle something on Rory. Although, Tommy, I know Rory might never win, and his brain just might be too fucking.
He's too obsessed with Live Golf.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, he's got so many demons at Augusta. Yeah. He might try so hard. He might,
Well, he even admitted that he's too obsessed with the Live Golf right now. What's going on there? And he's got to get his mind right. He said that a couple weeks ago.
I don't know. I'm curious to hear John's thoughts on Augusta. Again, it's hard to go against Scotty. It's hard to go
against the top 3. Well, I mean, Rory is like only because he needs it for the career Grand Slam. That's really the only reason that you'd kind of think maybe he, like of all the majors, like he'll bring it for this one. Um, but yeah, hard to go against the way Scotty's playing. For a long shot, how about Minwoo Lee? Like he's interesting. He just was up there at the Players. I don't know. He'll probably be like 70 or 80 to 1.
Yeah.
Didn't he gag at the Players?
He did.
Yeah.
But you gotta gag. You gotta gag it first before you can, you know, take the title in the future. That's what happens to most of these guys. He's definitely promising. I've been betting Jason Day all year. I think I'm just going to keep betting Jason Day. So I'll probably bet Jason Day this week. I'll probably bet Jason Day at Augusta. Like the win is going to be coming, man. So it was kind of like Zalatoris last year. Like I bet him every single major, kept betting him, and then he finally got his win at in the playoff event. But that's how I feel about Jason Day at the moment. So I'm just going to keep betting him. So
what about Mr. Barstool, Max Homa?
I like Max, but he hasn't done well in majors, so I want to see him do it in majors. Like I don't even think he's had a top 10 in a major.
No, he hasn't.
So yeah, I'm going to wait for him to do it in a major before I actually put my money down on it.
Ricky Fowler was my guy, and now Max Homa's my guy.
And John, I don't know if you've been following Thomas McKibben on the DP World Tour, but someone yesterday tweeted his first 20 starts on the tour with McIlroy's first 20 starts, and they're actually kind of similar. He finished in 18th in the SDC Championship yesterday. I don't know where that was. I know the week before they were in Kenya. So
yeah, all places to play a golf tournament, man. Good for them, I guess.
Yeah. But he's gonna win. He's gonna win on the European Tour, and I want to be there for that.
Exactly. You just got to keep betting it every week, and then eventually you'll hit it.
60 to 1.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah. I'm looking forward to our next golf recap show. That's coming up. It's like in 2 weeks, I think. It's
3 weeks. Yeah.
Really coming up.
We got the match play this week, then the Texas Open, and then Augusta. So it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah. Andy Open.
I'll be there for that. Last week, Dave, I didn't watch any of the golf because I was in Vegas. So, but I was like, John and Mike are gonna do laps around me in terms of talking about this event that I didn't even watch. I mean, I saw Sunday, but by then, Scotty kind of had it in the bag.
Jamie's a big fan of Adam Schenk. We mentioned the big win. The win was actually a round, like a third round bet. So that was a great win. Wow.
Also, lowest third round of the day. Yep. Was that the bet?
Basically, who's winning after the third round? If that right?
Oh, I see. Third round leader. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, Jamie says if Adam Schenk has a baby, I'll be sitting out.
That was a big. He had a big birdie on 18 for Schenk that Saturday because Spieth I think bogeyed and Schenk birdied.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty good story though. It's a shame for Schenk from Schenk's sake that he had to have that his 18th hole. I think it was 18th hole.
Yeah, right up against a tree. We've all been there before. It's imagine if there wasn't thousands of people around. You could just kind of kicked it out to the fairway and play from there. But unfortunately for him, the cameras were on him.
True story. So definitely juice if nothing else on Sunday afternoon. So just an interesting sidebar to what was happening with all the NCAA at the same time. So John, we'll give it to you for final thoughts, and then we'll head on out to our friend Robbie G, and we're gonna keep I'll be a guest over on his channel after this podcast is done. So, John, final thoughts. This has been a lot. This has been fun tonight. Yeah, good stuff indeed. Yeah, nothing really else to add. I mean, Andy's right. You look at the matchups that on Wednesday night, it's like you're a kid on Christmas morning again, just waiting for the next day to come. And, however the 2 days or 4 days of, play out, it's just nothing can beat the drama, excitement, the highs and the lows of watching the first 4 days of March. And it was certainly didn't disappoint this year. So we're in store for a good Sweet 16 and we'll see how it all plays out. So, yeah, definitely a lot of fun tonight, Dave. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Last comment from Parcells says, Gallegos is a former Yankee. Pay attention, Andy.
That was me.
I'm sorry. Pay attention, Tommy. Sorry. I think he said pay attention, Tommy. That's my fault. Pay attention, Tommy. He does, man. I saw the end of that game.
He was on the Yankees, but he was terrible.
Yeah, Japan came back in the game in the 9th inning, folks, in a walk-off double and won the game 6-5. So a heartbreaking loss for Mexico. They were having such a great tournament, too. Beating the odds.
Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, must-watch TV.
Where was this game?
Miami.
They're all in Miami?
Well, these ones are, yes.
Oh, Arizona, too. Brett was there. I think Brett did a Cactus League trip with some baseball with some WBC in between.
Are you talking to Brett on the board mostly or Twitter?
No, Twitter. John
Twitter.
Galvano.
Yes, you two mix it up a lot on Twitter.
We're getting a room. We're getting a room next time.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
John, are you still on the board ever or no?
No, I haven't been on there in quite a while. So
Just not even Twitter?
just on the Twitter. Then I pop on the Discord every once in a while, but the whole thing of a live running chat isn't like my thing. But I pop in
I
every once.
understand. It's not for everyone.
Twitter's where it's at. You get all the
Yeah.
gambling stuff there.
Except when Twitter's down.
Except when Twitter's down.
All right, friends. Well, it's nice of you to hang out with me for a little bit. So thanks again. And hopefully good luck this weekend, honestly. Like, I don't want any bad luck for any of y'all. So cheers. And
Good night, man.
thanks, man.
Looking for more wholesome sports. Just no gambling. Just watching for the pure.
Who are you fooling?
Andy, if that happens, I'm ending the show.
Next year, so I think Seattle gets some men's games next year. The women's are coming to Seattle. Hard pass for me next year or the next weekend, but the men's have first, second round next year at the Climate Pledge. I'll go to.
I'm upset at myself. I didn't realize it was in Albany. That's like an hour from me. I could have easily gone to those games. I didn't realize it until it was too late. So that's a bad job out of me. But they had them in Hartford a few years back. That was so much fun to go to. I can say that I went to NCAA tournament games. So hopefully they come back here at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, I know we're going over and Dave has another show to go to. So, but yeah, it's just even just going to like Pac-12 tournament. That first time I did that, it's just fun. I remember when the NCAA, they even like Worcester, Mass used to have games like almost like every other year. Like Worcester, Mass. Good. I mean, perfect location, I guess, but it's Worcester. There's not a lot going on there.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie says that I went to the Sweet 16 and an Elite 8 in 2008 in Boston. It's a good year.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food Center, whatever it's called then.
Yeah.
That was like Nova and Pitt, right? In the Elite 8, I think.
Nova won.
Yeah.
Now, I remember Kansas won the title that year. And I remember the kid that won because there was a kid that won the game.
Mario Chalmers.
Yeah,
Mario Chalmers.
Mario Chalmers. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
Calipari with the Derrick Rose team.
That's
That was
right.
a crazy game.
Back in Memphis.
I had Memphis. Chris Douglas Roberts.
Yep.
I thought he'd be a good pro. I actually remember getting an argument with Tommy and O'Reilly about Chris Douglas Roberts. I thought he'd be a really good pro. He sucks.
he was pretty bad, but at least he made it. He made it to the show.
I love it.
Just couldn't shoot. I thought he'd be able to develop into a shooter.
You think Zach Edey will be on the NBA court?
I mean, he'll be on an NBA court, but man, he did not do. I mean, you guys should be funhousing the shit out of me for predicting Purdue was going to win the title like 3 months ago. I mean, I changed course in that. Obviously, I mean that was ridiculous. They did not do. That's just a long way of saying no. No, I don't, Tommy. How about you?
All right, boys. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks, everybody.
All right, later.
Take care, everybody. John,
All
Andy.
right, thanks for having.
Yeah, likewise. Take care, guys.
See y'all later.
Oh man, good stuff. Thank you, Andy, John, Tom. I went on too much of a tangent with Zach Edey, but folks, that was really, really fun. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody. This has been a tremendous show. If you missed any of it, we'll have the replay right here on Twitch, and we will be seeing you all stay with us. We're gonna go raid Robbie G Sports OTHP. We're gonna have to go pretty quick. So mods, can you do the raid calls in the chat? We're gonna get rolling here. Those of you in the podcast, this has been really fun. My name's Dave Medina. You can find me on all the socials, and on on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. You can find me at Davies Eating a Sandwich, or our sports page, which is at Sandwich Sports on YouTube specifically. Meanwhile, we're gonna get rolling. We're gonna snooze that one. And we're gonna head on out to Robbie G Sports OTHP. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great night. And for those of you in the podcast, we'll see you next time. And for those on you on Twitch, we're going to go start the raid. So we'll see you at Robbie G's. I should be on there in any matter of moments. And thank you again, everyone. Stay through the raid because you're going to see more of me over there. We're going to keep talking basketball. It should be a really good time. And we'll see how it goes. So, thank you. Oh, hey, Robbie, what's going on? Thank you. Thank you for popping in the chat for a little bit there. Doesn't work for you, Resort? I didn't set that up for that purpose. I'm sorry. Let's just roll that out there. Thank you, Jamie. Okay, so we're gonna copy the raid calls. We'll see you there. Starting the raid. We'll see you at Raid Robbie's in a matter of seconds. Take care, folks, and let's go talk some more basketball. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next week. I might have lied about the year. Oh, no, that's all right. I mean, if you got it off by a year, no big deal. Let's do it. Here we go. We'll see you at Robbie's. Bye, everyone, and follow our friend Robbie once you get there, and you'll see more of me. This should be really fun. Take care, everybody.